for the introduction of our guest speaker for today's event. Mr. Jeffrey S. Perez is a licensed geologist and a supervising science research specialist of the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, Department of Science and Technology, PHIVOLCS DOST. He is a graduate of B.S. Geology from the University of the Philippines and gained a Master of Engineering major in Civil and Environmental Engineering from Saitama University, Japan in 2004 through an Asian Development Bank Japan Scholarship Program or ADB-JSP. He has also taken graduate school units in Kyoto University, Japan. His research interests include active tectonics and paleoseismic studies of the different segments of the Philippine Fault and the Valley Fault System. Their research findings, which are published in international journals, make us understand the characteristics and history of surface rupturing earthquakes along the different segments of the Philippine Fault. Their work has updated the active faults map of the Philippines, which is extensively used in seismic hazard assessment by different stakeholders for land use and disaster risk reduction and mitigation plans. Mr. Jeff Perez was a recipient of the 2017 Outstanding Young Scientist awarded by the National Academy of Science and Technology Philippines (NESTPH) and the DOST International Publication Award in 2021, 2018, and 2015. In 2018, he was one of the 8 Filipinos who were part of the Asian Scientist 100 list. The Senate of the Philippines commended him and the other scientists by adopting Senate Resolution Number 141 on May 22, 2019. Mr. Jeff Perez currently supervises the Disaster Risk Reduction Research and Development section of PHIVOLCS DOST. As a part of his task, he also effectively communicates geohazard information and disaster risk reduction or DRR researches to various stakeholders through engaging lectures and seminars for communities to be proactive in earthquake preparedness. He also extends his expertise as a senior lecturer in the graduate course of UP National Institute of Geological Sciences.
Good morning, and thank you for the very kind introduction. So, thank you for inviting PHIVOLCS to New Era. Actually, we're just neighbors. We're just a stone thrown away. Andito lang kami sa kabilang side ng Commonwealth. And I'm very happy to be with you, mga Iranians. So for this morning, we will not talk about science. We will not talk about many scientific terms. But my purpose is to explain to you what will happen in case there will be a big one, not only in Metro Manila, but also for the rest of the country. As yung kinuwento nga ni Ka Denver kanina, big one is not a scientific term. It was a term coined by media to describe a large magnitude earthquake, the effects of a large magnitude earthquake in Metro Manila. But in reality, every region, every province except for one province, we have to look for that one province, have their own big one. Ang ibig sabihin niya, every region, kada probinsya, except sa isang probinsya, sa Pilipinas, pwedeng makaranas ng isang malakas na lindol. And being a Filipino, baka during our lifetime, we will experience this large magnitude earthquake. I put an S sa big one, so I coin it as big ones, because hindi lang isang earthquake scenario, hindi lang isang fault yung pwedeng gumalaw sa isang area. There could be different scenarios that may happen in a certain area. And our preparedness regarding these different scenarios may be different. So we need to understand these different earthquake scenarios. So, as we all know, because of our geographic and tectonic setting, the Philippines is blessed with many hazards. Hindi na natin maaalis yan because of our location sa Earth, because sa ating tectonic setting, every year we will experience different natural hazards. Example, every year, at least 20 typhoon will enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Hindi maaalis yan. Right now, nasa ano na tayo? Maybe less than 10, but we will expect more typhoon in the coming months. Yung storm surge, we heard the term storm surge during the 2013 Yolanda event. People there in Tacloban, Eastern Samar, they were caught in surprise. Nagulat yung mga tao because it was their first time. Ngayon lang daw nila naranasan yung ganong kalakas na alon. Sabi nga niya sana tinawag ng tsunami, but that is not a tsunami, that is a storm surge. Nagkagulatan, akala nila first time. But if we take a look at history, kung titignan natin yung documentation ng mga disasters in the past, more than 100 years ago, meron ding nangyaring storm surge on the same area. When we look at these historical accounts, nakita namin siya sa isang newspaper na dinidescribe yung malakas na alon na tumama diyan sa may Tacloban, sa may Giwan, sa may Eastern Samar. So that our lessons learned here is that disasters, itong mga natural hazards na to, pwedeng umuulit lang siya. But the problem with our culture dito sa Pilipinas, we don't have this memory of the disaster. Ang nangyayari after a large earthquake, after a typhoon, isang baha, nakakalimutan natin. Yung mga binabaha ngayon sa Marikina, they were already been flooded in the past, pero bakit nandun pa rin tayo? So we don't have this culture of the memory of the disaster. Hindi natin na ipapasa yung mga experiences natin during the past. Hindi niya naipasa sa atin, and we want these experiences na maipasa natin in the next generation. Flooding is a perennial problem, di ba? Because of the development, because of the pagkakaroon ng kalsada, flooding is a problem, di ba? Alam natin yan. If we're going to school, kapag face-to-face na nakikita natin, konting ulan, binabaha na tayo because of the development, because of, sabi nila, tinatanggal yung mga, or nawawalan na tayo ng puno na nag-absorb ng water. So, it's a perennial problem. In case of landslides, every time na nagkakaroon ng malakas na ulan, may mga landslides na nangyayari. This is a picture during the Reina event in, I think this was 2005. You see this huge landslide in Real Quezon. Makikita nyo medyo maliit pero there are many people here. Bakit? Kasi people evacuated on a pre-identified evacuation area. Nandito sa ilalim ng landslide na to, yung evacuation area. So, akala nila nagpunta sila sa isang safe na lugar, yung pala doon sila mapapahamak kasi doon mismo sa likod nila, doon nagkaroon ng landslide. In terms of volcanic eruption, we have many volcanoes in the Philippines. There are more than 300 volcanoes in the Philippines. 24 are active volcanoes. And the closest active volcano in Metro Manila, dito sa Quezon City, is Taal Volcano, which we experienced last 2020. Nung pumutok siya, umabot yung ash dito sa Metro Manila. I saw meron tayong participant from Jensen. In Jensen, napakalapit sa kanila nung Mount Parker and yung Parker at yung Matutum. Matutum and Parker is very close to Jensen. If you have been to Jensen, yung mga kasama natin dyan sa Jensen campus, when I visited there, maybe many years ago, yung first time ko naka-visit dyan, paglapag ko ng eroplano, yung airport, I already knew these are volcanic deposits. These are volcanic deposits coming from the Parker volcano. Yung matutum, yung dyan sa Jensen, ang itsura niya para siyang mayon. So kung puputok yung mayon, yung matutum volcano, ano lang yan, it's a very beautiful scenery because from the crater of Matutum, babagsak yung mga lava and para siyang mayon volcano. Ganun yung feature niya. But for Parker volcano, pag yan ay pumotok, that is a twin volcano or ang kanyang lakas ay kasing lakas nung Pinatuboy eruption ng 1991. So you will have an imagination what will be the eruption if there will be activity in Parker volcano. In terms of tsunami, very simple. Lahat ng coastal areas sa Pilipinas ay tsunami prone. So lahat ng pinupuntahan nating beach resorts, basta sa Pilipinas yan, lahat ng coastal areas, lahat yan tsunami prone. And later on, we will see what will happen to Rojas Boulevard, to Mall of Asia, na nandyan lang sa may Manila Bay. And in terms of earthquakes, this map represents how active our country is in terms of earthquakes. Each red dot that you can see here are earthquake events, and these events are only for the past 100 years. Ganyan karami ang lindol sa Pilipinas. Every day, PHIVOLCS has been recording at least 20 earthquakes per day. So ganun karami ang lindol sa Pilipinas. Ang earthquakes ay hindi katulad ng bagyo or typhoon na nafo-forecast ng pag-asa kung kailan darating, gaano kalakas, saan tatama yung eye of the typhoon. But for earthquakes, we still don't have any technology. Wala pa tayong scientific basis para makapag-forecast na or makapag-predict kung kailan magkakaroon ng lindol. Even sa countries ng Japan, sa US, wala pa rin silang paraan para malaman natin kung eksaktong kailan darating yung lindol. So, we need to prepare for this kasi hindi naman natin alam kung kailan darating itong mga lindol na to. And we all know na, sabi nga, di ba, sa pagdating ng panahon, talagang makakaranas tayo ng malalakas na lindol. So, we expect na sa Pilipinas, talagang dilindolin tayo. And for the past 400 years, there are more than 100 destructive earthquakes. The left map represents the different earthquake sources in the Philippines. Why do we have earthquakes in the Philippines? Ang simpleng sagot na lang natin dito, wag na natin gawing geologically speaking. The simple answer to this is because the Philippines is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Yung Pacific Ring of Fire is a tectonically boundary or imagine natin yung Earth, tanggalin natin lahat ng bodies of water like Pacific Ocean, Philippine Sea. What we can see from the from moon, for example, is blocks of rock. And the largest block of rock is yung tinatawag na Pacific Plate, which is part of it is the Philippine Sea Plate. So yung part ng Pacific Plate, which is also the Pacific Ocean, yung boundary nun, yun yung tinatawag na Pacific Ring of Fire. Along this boundary, we have trenches, we have volcanoes, we have boundaries of, we have many earthquakes. More than 60% of world seismicity or world earthquakes are occurring around the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Philippines, Indonesia, Taiwan, Japan, North America, South America, we belong to that Pacific Ring of Fire, including California, itong mga to. So, on the boundaries of the Philippines, on the eastern side and on the western side, you can see these trenches, itong white lines. These trenches are the boundary of the tectonic plates. And along this boundary, like for example, the Philippine Sea Plate, the Philippine Sea Plate is moving towards the Philippine Archipelago. Pero pagdating dito sa may ngipin or dito sa trench, this Philippine Sea Plate is sumasabdak or kinakain siya or umiilalim siya. So this Philippine Sea Plate is being subducted along the Philippine Trench. And while this Philippine Sea Plate is being subducted, nagkakaroon ng earthquakes. So that you can see earthquakes in the sea, di ba? Dito sa may Pacific Ocean, dito sa Philippine Sea. And on the other side, on the western side of the Philippines, yung Eurasian Plate, yung Palawan, the West Philippine Sea, the rest of Asia, including China, lahat yan kasama sa Eurasian Plate. And this Eurasian Plate is moving towards the Philippines. So China actually is moving closely to the Philippines around 10 to 20 centimeters per year. Lumalapit yung bansang China sa atin. But pagdating dito sa Manila Trench, this Eurasian Plate is also being subducted. And habang nagsasubduct siya, nagkakaroon ng earthquakes. And mapapansin natin, for the whole Philippines, lahat may earthquakes except for Palawan because Palawan belongs to China in terms of geology. Okay, in terms of geology, in terms of types of rocks, age of rocks, Palawan belongs to the Eurasian Plate. Magkakasama sila ng West Philippine Sea, including the rest of Asia. Since we have these earthquake sources in the ocean or in bodies of water, pwede siyang mag-generate ng earthquake and pwede siyang mag-generate ng tsunami. So, ibig sabihin, kung sakaling magkaroon ng earthquakes along these trenches with a minimum magnitude of 6.5 and a depth of 70 kilometers, these trenches may also generate a tsunami. So, makikita natin na this sources, nakapaligid siya sa Pilipinas. So, all of the coastal areas in the Philippines can be affected by a tsunami. And then, because of this interaction of the tectonic plates, ang nangyari sa Pilipinas, nagkabasag-basag yung mga bato natin. And isa sa nagbasag ng mga bato is itong mga active faults. These red lines are what we call active faults. And these active faults may generate an earthquake. So, makikita natin yung mga lines na to, these are sources of earthquakes, the red lines, which are active faults, and the white lines, which are the trenches. So, makikita natin na sa buong Pilipinas, there are sources of earthquakes, except here in Palawan, na hindi siya pwedeng maging epicenter ng earthquake, but Palawan can still be affected by tsunami. Kasi nakaharap siya dito sa mga trenches na to. So, this slide is presenting to us the past earthquakes, the past destructive earthquakes in the last 60 years. One major event was the 1968 Kasiguran earthquake. I'm not sure kung may buhay na noong 1968. We also call this earthquake as the Ruby Tower earthquake. Ano yung kwento niya? Ang kwento nito was that in 1968, merong isang building dyan sa may Binondo, Manila. We all know Binondo, Manila, malapit sa Divisoria. Yung sa may Binondo, yung height ng building was 6 story. So 6 floors siya. Let's imagine it's a 6-floor building. They call this Ruby Tower. It's a multi-use building. Ibig sabihin, the first 2 floors are commercial buildings, and then the upper 4 floors were residential. The earthquake took place madaling araw, and that building collapsed after the earthquake, after the shaking. Totally collapsed, ito na lang yung naiwan sa kanya. It killed more than 260 people, 268 to be exact, and injured around that number din, mga 260. Ang issue sa building na to, or ang issue sa earthquake na to, yung epicenter or yung source ng earthquake was not in Metro Manila. The source of the earthquake was in Kasiguran, Aurora. Kasiguran Aurora is more than 250 kilometers away from Metro Manila. So imagine, malayo yung source ng earthquake, pero pinabagsak niya yung building dito sa Manila. So let's imagine, what will happen in case na yung gumalaw na fault ay nandyan lang sa may, sabihin natin sa may Ateneo, para familiar tayo, or nandyan lang sa may Katipunan. What will happen to New Era? What will happen to Fivox? We are much closer to Katipunan. So that will be, ito yung titignan natin, what will happen to our structures. In 1976, there was an earthquake in Mindanao. We call this earthquake as the magnitude 8.1 Moro Gulf earthquake and tsunami. This earthquake was very significant because of the magnitude of the earthquake, yung epicenter ng earthquake, and this earthquake generated a 6 to 9 meter high tsunami. So nagkaroon ng tsunami na ang taas niya ay 3 floors ng building. So para ma-imagine natin, ano siya, yan, 3 floors. Ano bang building nyo sa New Era na 3 floors? The main building was, I think, 4 floors siya, di ba? 4 or 5 floors. So mas mababa naman sa New Era building, but this tsunami killed more than 6,000 people. Ganon karami yung namatay because of the tsunami. In 1990, siguro may mga buhay na during that time, nakasama natin ngayon, there was an earthquake ng epicenter was in Nueva Ecija, but the effect was in Baguio, Dagupan, La Union. Ito yung 1990 earthquake. This earthquake, ito yung most devastating earthquake in Philippine history. More than so many billions were damaged structures. Ganon kalaki itong earthquake na to. And then in recent years, di ba nakita natin yung effect ng earthquake sa Bohol, wherein many old churches, old Catholic churches, historical churches were damaged. There were series of earthquakes in Surigao, in Leyte, and in Cotabato. And last July 27, di ba, habang yung iba sa atin ay namamahagi ng pasugo, we have experienced the magnitude 7.0 northwestern Luzon earthquake. So if you want to know more about this earthquake, I encourage you to visit the FIVOX website. We have a very good poster about this earthquake. You can download this poster. But I will tell you something about this earthquake. So the earthquake happened at 8:43 in the morning. So if you are in Metro Manila, the intensity of the earthquake was only intensity 3, intensity 4. At sana wala sanang natakot sa atin during that time. During that earthquake, exactly I am here in my table, in my cubicle. And nangyari yung earthquake ng 8:43. Yung nakikita nyo, this is the epicenter of the earthquake, yung parang may beach ball. These are being used by seismologists para i-describe ano yung movement ng fault. This is Abra, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union. So nakikita nyo, these red lines, ito yung mga active faults. And the earthquake happened 8:43, north 50 west of Tayum, magnitude 7, depth was 15 kilometers, shallow depth. Ang nangyari sa kanya, if you can see, if this is the fault, ito yung fault, itong side ng Abra na to umangat, and then yung side na to, bumaba siya. So this is what we call a reverse left lateral faulting. Then, after the earthquake, sinundan siya ng maraming aftershocks. So, ang issue sa earthquakes, pag gumalaw yung fault, gumalaw, nagkaroon ng earthquake, yung mga bato sa ilalim, mag-a-adjust sila. Habang nag-a-adjust yung mga bato sa ilalim, nagkakaroon ng mga maliliit na earthquakes, and we call these small earthquakes as aftershocks. So this is the epicenter, yung star, and then the circles are the aftershocks. So as of September 5, 2022, FIVOX have already recorded more than 5,000 aftershocks. Ganon karami yung aftershock. So, and then the felt aftershocks yung nararamdaman ng tao was 77. The magnitude was 1.4 to 5.2. I was there. 8:43 nangyari yung lindol. 12 o'clock ng gabing yon, 12 a.m. ng July 28, we were already there in Abra. From 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., yung madaling araw na yon, pagdating namin, we felt more than 6 aftershocks. Sa 3 oras na yon, 6 na malalakas na aftershocks yung naramdaman namin. Paano pa yung nauna sa amin? Paano pa yung mga nakatira doon? So ganun karami, and ganun yung naramdaman ng mga kababayan natin, mga kapatid natin na nandun sa may Abra and Ilocos Sur. Maraming aftershocks na nangyari. And the earthquake was felt with a maximum of intensity 7 sa may Abra and some parts of Ilocos Sur, La Union, intensity 6. And this earthquake was felt up to Camarines Sur. Ganon kalawak itong lindol na to. These are some pictures of the damages brought about by this northwestern Luzon earthquake. Nakita niyo na to sa video, sa mga news. But very prominent was the landslides, yung liquefaction. Itong bilog na to, akala nila bulkan, pero hindi siya bulkan. This is just the effect of the strong ground shaking. Nasa mga malapit sa dagat, malapit sa ilog, mabuhangin, nag-collapse siya, causing this tinatawag nating sand boil. And we expect old houses, old structures, poorly constructed structures will suffer significant damage with this magnitude. So, sabi ko nga, hindi na pre-predict ang earthquake. So, paano natin nalalaman yung epicenter, yung lakas ng lindol? What we do here in FIVOX is we have installed more than 115 or 110 seismic stations. These seismic stations are strategically located wherein we can detect earthquakes with magnitude 1 or less than 1. We can detect earthquakes anywhere in the Philippines. We can also detect earthquakes coming from other countries. We can also detect nuclear explosion. Ganon ka-sensitive yung mga instruments natin. If nagkaroon ng earthquake and it was recorded by at least 3 seismic stations, FIVOX will issue an earthquake information. Ang aming SOP ay dapat mailabas namin siya at least a maximum of 13 minutes. So within 13 minutes, dapat meron kayong makitang earthquake information from FIVOX. So these are 2 terms that we need to understand, yung focus and epicenter. Ang earthquake magsisimula sa ilalim ng lupa. So the point inside the earth, ilalim ng lupa, ilalim ng dagat, the point inside the earth where the earthquake will start, ang tawag doon, focus. Okay? So kung saan gumalaw yung fault, kung saan gumalaw yung trench, yung point na yon, ang tawag doon, focus. The point on the surface directly above the focus, the point on the surface of the earth directly above the focus, ang tawag doon, epicenter. So, hindi nyo makikita sa earthquake information yung focus, but you can see the depth. What you can see in our information or yung palaging binabalita ay yung epicenter. Why is epicenter important? Kasi mas malapit tayo sa epicenter, generally, mas mataas yung intensity na pwede nating ma-experience. The closer we are to the epicenter of the earthquake, the higher the intensity. So very important yung epicenter. And FIVOX use known cities, known towns para i-describe yung epicenter. Hindi na tayo bumababa sa barangay, but we will use towns and municipalities and cities. These are 2 terms that we need to understand, yung intensity and magnitude. These are both measuring the strength of an earthquake, but these 2 terms are different. Pag sinabi nating magnitude, this is the total energy released at the earthquake point of origin. Kumbaga, ito yung lakas ng lindol. Kung i-compare natin siya sa isang bombilya or isang bulb, that's the wattage of the bulb. 20 watts, 40 watts. This is being measured by instruments, yung mga seismograph. Sa isang earthquake, iisa lang ang magnitude. So we use Arabic numbers to describe the magnitude: 5.3, 7.2, 7.0. So sa isang earthquake, iisa lang ang magnitude. Ang katabas niya sa bombilya ay yung wattage. Yung liwanag ng bombilya, yun yung intensity ng ground shaking. So intensity is the perceived strength of the earthquake. This is how we feel the earthquake. This is what we observe. It is a scale used to estimate the effects of an earthquake at a particular site. Ibig sabihin, the intensity will be changing. It will be different depende sa layo natin sa epicenter. Generally, it is higher near the epicenter. Example, noong July 27, magnitude 7 yung lindol sa Abra, magnitude 7, it was felt in Abra na epicenter at intensity 7, intensity 6 sa may La Union, intensity 5 sa may Pangasinan, intensity 4 sa Metro Manila. So nagbabago yung intensity. Another example is yung liwanag ng bombilya. Mas malapit tayo sa bombilya, mas mataas yung liwanag niya, mas mataas yung intensity. Nagbabago siya depende sa lugar natin. For example, sa isang building or sa isang condominium unit, pwedeng magkaiba yung intensity sa ground floor at pwedeng magkaiba or iba yung intensity sa higher floor. Like for example, sa 6th floor, 5th floor, magkaiba yan. Why? Because meron tayong pinasukang building. So ang building, dinedesign siya para mag-sway. Okay? So normal lang na, kunwari, ng July 27, nasa New Era kayo, nasa upper floors, mas malakas yung naramdaman yung lindol, okay lang po yun. Okay lang na yung mga buildings ay nagsisway. Kasi dinedesign ang building para mag-sway. Ang building na hindi nagsishake kapag may lindol, or ibig sabihin, yung very stiff na building, hindi siya nagsisway, may earthquake na, ang ibig sabihin nun, yung building na yon, ina-absorb niya yung energy ng earthquake, mas mataas yung possibility na mag-collapse yung building. So, normal lang na yung building ay nagsisway during the earthquake. Tandaan natin yun. And normal lang na yung mga nasa upper floor ng building, talagang mararamdaman nila yung shaking because this building were designed para maging flexible, para mag-sway during the earthquake. So, in the Philippines, we are using the PHIVOX earthquake intensity scale. We have these materials, may ganito kaming materials. Merong hard copy, you can go to our website, download this information. We will not discuss all of the 10. I will just give you key points. Okay? Yung intensity 1, 2, and 3, hindi niya lahat yan mararamdaman. Normally, 1 and 2, hindi yan nararamdaman ng isang normal na tao. Mga seismologists lang siguro yung nakakaramdam yan. Pag intensity 3, this is felt by people, especially in the upper floors. Like nasa 2nd floor, 3rd floor, very few yung nakakaramdam indoors. At intensity 4, this is felt generally by people na nasa loob ng building. Nasa loob ng building, nasa loob ng bahay, at intensity 4, pwede niyong maramdaman yung lindol. Yung mga nasa labas, hindi niyo pa nararamdaman. At intensity 5, mostly or lahat ng tao nasa loob or nasa labas ng building, nararamdaman na nila yung earthquake. So ibig sabihin, kung lahat tayo ay hindi na nagtatanungan kung may lindol or wala, yung hindi na tayo magsisi, ay may lindol, kasi lahat kayo nakaramdam na ng lindol, the intensity is intensity 5. Kung merong swimming pool or merong baso na may water, swimming pool na may tubig, makikita nyo at intensity 5, nagsisway na yung tubig sa mga sa swimming pool or sa baso. At intensity 6, ang critical sa intensity 6 is the furnitures. Yung mga cabinets, television sets, monitors of your computer, refrigerators, cabinets, at intensity 6, nagsishake na yan. Makikita nyo na may mga gamit sa loob ng bahay na agad-agad nagsishake na sila. Pag nahulog sila, nahulog yung cabinet, nahulog yung monitor nyo, that will be intensity 7 or destructive. Intensity 8, it will be very difficult for us to stand. Nahihirapan na tayong tumayo. At intensity 9, it will be very difficult for us to stand. Intensity 10, completely devastating. Nagsisimula ang damage sa structures at intensity 6 pataas. Sa intensity 6, pwede na tayong makakita ng hairline cracks sa wall. Intensity 7, yung mga poorly constructed na structures pwede nang masira. At intensity 8, yung mga nagfa-follow ng building code, pwedeng meron na silang mga minor damages, pero we will have time para mag-evacuate. Next. Kung sakaling magkaroon ng malakas na earthquake, ito yung pwedeng mangyari sa ating lugar. Pwedeng magkaroon ng ground rupture, pwedeng mabitak yung lupa, ground shaking, liquefaction, landslide, tsunami, and then the secondary hazard, which is fire. The ground rupture will happen if there will be a fault on your area. Kung may fault sa ilalim ng lupa, at gumalaw siya ng napakalakas, this fault will project up to the surface. Just like what happened during the 1990 Luzon earthquake. You can see this crack on the middle of the picture. This surface rupture extends for about 120 kilometers. Kasing haba siya ng North Luzon Expressway, para ma-imagine natin. And then, these rice bodies were displaced by 6 meters. So imagine if you have a structure on top of a fault, tapos gagalaw siya ng 6 meters, talagang masisira yung structure. Just like what happened in Leyte in 2017, this is in Barangay Tungonan sa Leyte, nasira yung basketball court, tinamaan itong building na to, and ito yung itsura ng building sa loob. So lahat ng structures na nasa ibabaw ng fault, pag nagkaroon ng surface rupture, walang engineering intervention or walang engineering mitigation. Talagang masisira yung structure. This fault in Leyte, we have been mapping this fault 10 years before the earthquake. Kilala na ako ng mga tao dito because every year pinupuntahan namin itong lugar na to. There was also a rupture in Bohol in 2013. This one, I took this photo from helicopter. Ito yung itsura niya from air. And on the ground, umangat yung lupa. This part, there was a vertical displacement of about 1.5 to 2 meters. This nipahat is this one. Yun yung nasa taas. This nipahat is less than 10 meters away from the fault. Ganon siya kalapit sa fault, 10 meters away. Yung taong nakatira dito or yung the owner of this house, when we interviewed her, she told us that during the earthquake, she was inside the house and it was very difficult for her to stand during the shaking. Ganong kalakas yung lindot. It was very difficult for her to stand. Dumapa na lang siya dahil sa nahihilo na siya. And it was intensity 8 based on her description. Nag-stop na yung shaking, huminto na yung dindol, pero nahihilo pa rin siya. So ang ginawa niya, gumapang siya palabas nitong pinto. Then nagulat siya kasi nakita niya yung kanyang palayan na umangat, vertical displacement of 1.5 to 2 meters. Mas nagulat siya kasi nakita niya yung bahay niya nakatayo pa rin. She was expecting na nasira yung bahay niya. So ang question, bakit nakatayo yung bahay? Ang unang sagot, magaling yung engineer. Okay? Hindi. Una, wala siya sa ibabaw ng fault. Yung next, yung ginamit na materials are wood and bamboo. Ang kahoy at kawayan, pag nilindol mo siya, pag shinake mo siya, will just sway. So let's imagine, wala na namang kahoy at kawayan na na building, wala namang kahoy at kawayan na building ang New Era. So the problem here is how do hollow blocks, how do cement behave during an earthquake? We will answer that later. So in the Philippines, we have many sources of earthquakes, and these are some of the list of the active faults in the Philippines. You can download this map sa aming website. The red lines, the black lines here are the different active faults. But in Metro Manila, we have two active faults. Una, yung East Valley Fault, and the next one is the West Valley Fault. These two faults, tinatawag natin siyang Valley Fault System. Yung East Valley Fault is less than 10 kilometers. The longer the fault, the length of the fault, the longer the length of the fault, the higher the magnitude it can generate. So the East Valley Fault traverses Rodriguez and San Mateo, Rizal. The municipalities of Rodriguez and San Mateo, Rizal. Yung West Valley Fault will start in Angat Reservoir. Hindi sa Angat Dam, but in Angat Reservoir. Mula Bulacan, Doña Remedios, Norsagaray, San Jose del Monte, passing through Rodriguez, Rizal. Okay? Para ma-imagine natin, magkakapit-bahay lang naman tayo dito. Yung sa Rodriguez, Rizal, yung fault ay nandun sa may malapit sa gate ng pamayanan sa Tagumpay. So mula doon, papuntang San Isidro, meron tayong lokal sa may Makabud. Yun, may mga traces ng fault pero hindi doon. Doon papunta yung trace ng fault. So mula doon, tatawid siya dito sa may Payatas, sa may Quezon City, sa may Bagong Silangan. Kung ito ay papuntang Lagro, Commonwealth, yung trace ng fault ay nandito sa may side ng Batasan. Yung Philinvest 2, Vista Classica, Barangay Bagong Silangan, Batasan Hills. Kung familiar kayo sa lokal ng Batasan, nandun siya sa labas ng, nakikita nyo yan, siguro mga 200-400 meters away from the lokal ng Batasan. Then it will going to Quezon City, dito sa may Loyola Government Villas, Ateneo, then passing through Barangka, Tumana area, going to Marikina, Pasig, sa Pasig, before Pasig, nandyan siya sa may Green Meadows, White Plains, Acropolis, Valle Verde 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, then it goes to Makati. Before going to Makati, yung ating lokal sa may Ugong, nasa siya, siguro mga, sabihin nating mga outside of our compound, mga 50 meters away. Then it will go to Embo, yung Istrembo, Comembo, yung Pembo. Yung trace ng fault ay nasa kabilang kanto or nasa kabilang road ng Kapilya ng Pembo, going to Taguig, Muntinlupa. Ang dulo nito ay nasa may lagpas pa ng New Valley sa may Silang and Calamba, Laguna. So ganun kahaba yung trace ng fault na to. These are some pictures of the traces of the fault on the ground. This one is in Tumana area. Actually, this one, yung makikita nyo ngayon, kung pupunta kayo ngayon dito, this is being developed now by a subdivision, Santa Lucia, dyan lang sa may Tumana. And itong nakikita nyong red line, this is the trace of the fault. So, because you want development, ang ginawa ng contractor, ginawa niyang kalsada, itong red line, which is good. Wala siyang tinayong structure sa ibabaw ng fault. This is inside the in Loyola Grand Villas, nandito yung trace ng fault. Open space, may trace ng fault. This is inside Ateneo de Manila University. So makikita nyo umangat yung lupa. Mabuti na lang This is a soccer field. This building is around 20 meters away from the fault. These are row of houses in Loyola subdivision in Marikina. So makikita natin sa likod nitong mga bahay na to yung trace ng fault. This one is in Kawilihan Village in Pasig City. There's a little elevation or nagsuslope yung kanilang kalsada, even their parking lots. And this sloping is because of the movement of the fault. So nagre-adjust sila. They have made their houses na nagfa-follow do sa topography ng lugar, nagfa-follow do sa topography ng fault. This fault traverses major roads. Dinadaanan niya yung C5, Ortigas, Marcos Highway, South Luzon Expressway. This is very close to Alabang and Susana Heights na exit. Why do we are telling this? Because kung sakaling magkaroon ng earthquake, itong mga major roads na to, pwede siyang maputol, pwede siyang masira. So we need to know alternate routes in case na magkaroon ng earthquake. Based on our audit, we have more than 3,000 structures which is traversed by the fault. So imagine this number, 3,000. Ang akala nung iba, Jeff, ano lang naman ata yan, dinrawing mo lang ata yung red line na yan. Personally po, isa ako sa mga gumuhit ng active faults for the West Valley Fault. I can point to you on the ground kung saan yung trace ng fault. I'm one of the fault mappers na naggumawa nun. And these two bulletins, two earthquake information will tell us na yung West Valley Fault po ay active talaga. When we are doing the mapping in 2014, habang nagmamapa kami, gumalaw yung fault ng epicenter niya ay nasa may Pasig. Okay? The source is West Valley Fault 2.7. Last year, March 15, gumalaw na naman yung fault. 1.1 yung magnitude niya. So, ibig sabihin, we all know that this fault is an active fault. Based on our studies, we have conducted paleoseismic studies. We all knew that this fault has already moved 4 times in the past 1,400 years. And the recurrence interval or nauulit yung malalakas na earthquake every 400 to 600 years. And the last earthquake event was 1658. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Anong ibig sabihin nitong mga numbers na to? The last one was 1658. It was 364 years ago. Ibig sabihin, 364 years na siyang nag-iipon ng energy. Hindi natin sinasabing eksaktong 400 kasi approximately 400. It could be less than 400. It could be 365, 366. Or it could be more than 600, 601, 602. We don't know when. Ang tanong na lang ay, we don't know kung gagalaw siya. We know na gagalaw siya. Ang hindi lang natin alam kung kailan. So we need to prepare for this. To check kung nasaan yung location ng fault, we encourage you to visit these two websites, faultfinder.fivox.tosd.gov.ph or hazardhunter.chiris.gov.ph. Yung mga red lines na makikita nyo, that's the location of the fault. You just look at your house, double-click, then we will tell you how far you are from the trace of the fault. How to avoid the effects of ground rupture? Avoid constructing a structure on top of an active fault. Ganun kasimple. If you know the trace of the fault, you just move 5 meters away from the trace of the fault or the edge of the deformation zone. Diba? Alam natin yan eh. Diba? Magtataka kayo. Bakit yung gate ng pamayanan ay ang layo-layo sa kapilya? Ang reason doon, kasi alam natin na may fault doon, kaya nilayo natin yung kapilya natin. Maaaring ang masira doon ay yung gate, pero yung kapilya natin ay hindi masisira. Kasi alam natin kung nasaan yung trace ng fault. So ganun yung kailangan natin. If you know the trace of the fault, you just move 5 meters away. Even the subways here in Metro Manila. Diba? May ginagawang subway ngayon. Yung subway na yon, ang original plan niya, dadaanan niya yung fault. What we have done is, iniwas namin yung subway sa dadaanan ng fault para patuloy pa rin yung development natin.
The fault is just a fault. More than 3,000 may be affected, but our big problem is the ground shaking. The ground shaking is the up-down, disruptive up-down and sideways vibration during an earthquake. Tatandaan natin, yung earthquakes, hindi naman siya nakakamatay, di ba? Kung abutan tayo ng earthquake sa isang open space, walang mangyayari sa atin. Unless na inatake tayo sa puso, di ba? Kung open space yan, walang problema. Ang problema, pag nagka-earthquake, nasa loob tayo ng building, meron tayong katabing poste, meron tayong katabing flyover, ito yung nasisira. And doon tayo nagkakaroon ng aksidente, doon tayo nagkakaroon ng casualty. So, what we have done is kailangan nating i-improve yung mga structures natin. Tatandaan natin sa isang earthquake, hindi naman lahat ng structures ay nasisira. We have structures na nakaka-survive. Bakit sila nakaka-survive? Very simple, kasi sumusunod sila sa building code. Yung mga buildings na nasisira, what we have noticed, what we have observed was that these structures are substandard, tinipid yung materials, tinipid yung bakal, hindi sumusunod sa building code, walang building permit. So, ang sinasabi natin dito, kung matibay yung structures natin, even if it's an intensity 8 earthquake, hindi yan masisira. This is our scenario in Metro Manila. Kung sakaling gumalaw yung West Valley Fault, the whole Metro Manila, including Cavite, Bulacan, Rizal, and Laguna, will experience intensity 8 ground shaking. So, what we are expecting here, kung gumalaw yung West Valley Fault, is ganitong kalakas na ground shaking. Yung mga nakikinig sa atin ngayon sa Rizal, nakikinig sa atin sa Pampanga, nakikinig sa atin sa Batangas, nakikinig sa atin sa Jensan, lahat yan may potensyal na magkaroon ng intensity 8 na earthquake. Hindi lang yung source ay galing sa Metro Manila. Diyan sa may Pampanga, meron tayong tinatawag na East Zambales Fault. Diyan sa may Batangas, meron tayong tinatawag na Manila Trench. Diyan sa may Jensan, maraming tinatawag na faults dyan, yung Cotabato fault system that has already moved in 2019. So, in every campuses ng New Era, kailangan ang preparedness natin ay naka-anchor sa isang intensity 8 na ground shaking. Paano ba natin ma-imagine yung intensity 8? Ganito siya, katulad ng makikita natin sa video. But let's observe ano yung ginagawa ng mga tao. Sa Japan, they practice drop, cover, and hold. Diba? Kasi now off balance na sila. In Japan, they practice this kind. Observe this cabinet. Makikita niyo yung cabinet. Yung cabinet ay hindi nahulog kasi nakatali yung mga cabinets nila. Sa Japan, they make sure na merong stopper yung kanilang mga tables para hindi siya masyadong nag-move. Observe kung meron bang bumabagsak sa kisame, sa roof. Walang bumabagsak sa roof. And take note, hindi nababasag yung salamin, di ba? Yung nakikita niyong pinto dito. So there are ways, di ba? May mga tempered glasses, kahit na ganun kalakas, hindi nabasag. And hindi nasira yung building. Di ba? So ibig sabihin, kahit na ganitong kalakas yung earthquake, kung tama yung pagkakatayo ng structure, hindi siya babagsak. And we can survive that intensity 8 na earthquake. In terms of damages, this was a study conducted by FIVOX, JICA, and MMDA in 2004. And based on the estimates, more than 33,000 casualties ang pwedeng mangyari kapag gumalaw yung West Valley Fault. So these are simulation. More than 38% ng residential buildings ang masisira. This is a great number. Why? Kasi maraming residential buildings ang substandard. Observe, yung mga high-rise buildings, mas less yung damage. Kasi sumusunod sila sa building code. 33,000 deaths. Ang hindi masyadong na-explain, this scenario is a nighttime scenario. Ibig sabihin, nung kinompute namin yung casualties, pinapasok namin yung tao sa loob ng bahay. And Kung bumagsak yung bahay, ina-assume namin na may injury doon, may human loss. This is a nighttime scenario. There could be another scenario of fire, more than 18,000 fire casualties. This is a nighttime scenario. What will happen kung yan ay daytime? In my opinion, kapag yan ay daytime, baka tumaas. Because people now are in schools, nasa mall, nasa offices, nasa gitna ng traffic, nasa gitna ng flyover. We have updated this number in 2016. Hindi siya bumaba, kundi mas tumaas pa yung fatalities natin. And if we include Bulacan, Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, and Pampanga, more than 45,000 yung fatalities. So we need to help na mapababa itong fatalities na to. We need to do our contribution so that we can lessen the impact of this West Valley Fault movement. In terms of hazards in your own offices or inside your houses, these are the possible hazards. Yung large and heavy pieces of furnitures that may topple, yung mga hanging flower pots and ceiling fans, yung mga glass windows, heavy picture frames, mga latches or yung mga pinto ng mga cabinets that will not hold during the ground shaking, glass or other breakable objects, obstructions such as plant boxes, bulletin boards that may block exit points and corridors during our evacuation, elevated water tanks, and electrical posts. So, another scenario, if yung mga areas na malapit sa dagat, malapit sa ilog, reclaimed areas, mga swampy areas, mangrove areas, these areas are prone to liquefaction. Kung sa ground shaking, the building will collapse. In liquefaction, ang building ay either magsasubside or magsisink or magtitilt yung building. Kung sa ground shaking, we need to have proper construction practice. They should follow the building code. Dito sa liquefaction, madali siyang isolve. Kailangan lang ng matibay na pundasyon. So foundation lang po ito, di ba? Alam natin na lahat ng mga mihoras ng iglesia, nakasalig siya sa matibay na pundasyon. So the liquefaction, simple lang yan. Kailangan lang ng matibay na foundation. In terms of landslides, di ba? Pwede namang magtayo ng structures sa mga mountainous areas, but we need to consider or to mitigate the impact of landslides. So we need engineering intervention or mitigation pagdating sa landslides. And in terms of tsunami, these are sea waves small to large resulting from disturbance of seawater. So ito yung earthquakes na ang epicenter niya ay nasa dagat, magnitude 6.5 and above, and then the depth is less than 70 kilometers. In the scenario for Metro Manila, if there will be a magnitude 8.3, let's imagine nasa Mall of Asia na lang tayo. Mall of Asia is somewhere here. Darating yung tsunami around 45 minutes to 1 hour. Ang height ng tsunami, kung gusto nyo hintayin, pag low tide, 3.5 or yung normal tide, 3.5 meters. 3.5 lagpas ng isang floor ng building. Pag high tide, magiging 2 floors ng building, 5.5. Kung kailangan nyong mag-evacuate, you need to evacuate 2.7 kilometers. So mula Mall of Asia, kailangan nyong lagpasan yung LRT TAF. Ganon kalayo siya. So mas magandang mag-SM North na lang tayo. Huwag na tayong pumunta ng Mall of Asia kasi malayo yung kailangan nating ipuntahan for evacuation. The big problem with tsunami, marami tayong coastal areas, coastal communities living in this area. And these areas are prone to tsunami. So our estimate, kung sakaling magkaroon ng tsunami along the Manila Bay area, ang estimated population natin that could be affected is around 2.4 million. Ganon karami yung residente natin nasa coastal area. So, ano yung kailangan natin gawin? First is to determine the potential hazards in your area. Kailangang malaman natin ano yung mga panganib, ano yung mga hazards na pwedeng mangyari sa atin. You use proper structural design and engineering practice. reevaluate the structural soundness of our buildings and important infrastructures. If there's a need, let's retrofit or rehabilitate if necessary. This is a tool that you can use para malaman natin kung ano yung hazard sa ating area. So please watch and listen to this video.
Are you safe from natural hazard? Are you building your home in a safe area? Or you simply need data for disaster risk management? All these information may be easily accessed at the flick of your finger with Hazard Hunter PH. Hazard Hunter PH is an online application designed to generate seismic, volcanic, hydrometeorological hazard assessment reports, as well as location features. Instead of 1 to 3 days to generate a hazard assessment report, with Hazard Hunter PH, it only takes 15 seconds. This increases the efficiency and ease of doing business. So how do you use the Hazard Hunter PH application? Hazard Hunter PH is user-friendly. Just follow the following steps. Type the location in the search bar. Double-click or tap on the map to select the target area. Initial hazards assessment will appear on the screen. Select the View Explanation and Recommendation link to see the full report. This may be used as a quick reference, but users are advised to request a signed hazard assessment report if necessary. Hazard Hunter PH is a collaborative effort among government agencies, so you can have up-to-date natural hazards information anytime, anywhere. Enjoy free, contactless hazard assessments in one platform. Hazard Hunter PH. Hazard assessment at your fingertips.
So if you want to check the hazards in your area, you just visit this website, hazardhunter.uris.gov.ph. Hindi lang all about earthquakes. You can also see hazard information including flooding, landslides, and storm surge. So for this part, I will be presenting to you our seismic hazard assessment for New Era. So I just point dun sa inyong rotonda. So dinoble click ko lang siya. This rotonda sa loob ng New Era University is approximately 3.3 kilometers west of the Valley Fault System. So malayo siya. You are safe in terms of ground rupture. In terms of ground shaking, sabi ko nga sa inyo, buong Metro Manila will experience intensity 8. New Era is safe in terms of landslide. Safe siya sa liquefaction. Safe siya sa tsunami. The nearest active volcano is 72.5 kilometers away, which is Taal Volcano. You are safe in terms of the permanent danger zone, ballistic, base surge. Ang hazard lang in terms of volcano is ashfall. KN95 lang ang panlaban niya. So this is the assessment. The good thing about New Era campus, actually, if you navigate the Hazard Hunter, meron dong option for open spaces, and that will be an advantage for New Era kasi you have lots of open spaces. So you have open spaces dito sa harap, dito sa may yung sa may likod nung or malapit dito sa may quarry site, yung quarry condominium, you have these open spaces. And these open spaces are very good in terms of evacuation. Kung sakali mo magkaroon ng need na mag-evacuate yung mga yung school or yung mga pabahay natin, you have these open spaces. So before the earthquake, we need to prepare our place of work and residence. You strap heavy furniture to the wall, you store breakable items, harmful chemicals, especially yung mga chemical laboratories natin. Keep heavy furniture materials in lower shelves. We encourage or we should practice na every time nagagamit ng LPG tanks, we turn it off para maiwasan yung sunog kung sakaling bumagsak yung gas tanks. We check the stability of hanging objects. You have to prepare an emergency kit or earthquake survival kit. This emergency kit should last for the next 72 hours. Kasi ang estimate ng ating Meralco, ng Nawasa or ng Manila Water, we will not have any power supply probably for the next 3 days. That's the scenario. Pwedeng mawalan ng kuryente ng 2 to 3 days. Pwedeng mawalan tayo ng tubig ng 2 to 3 days kasi may mga pipelines na nasa traverse ng fault. Kailangan i-check yung quality ng water. Pwedeng mawalan tayo ng cellphone, ng signal. So we need to have quick information. Our quick information will be coming from AM stations. So we need to have battery-operated radio. We need to have water purification tablets. Yung normal na ginagamit natin for our emergency kit, dapat meron tayo. Meron tayo sa bahay, meron tayo sa office, kung sakali, meron tayo sa ating mga sasakyan. You familiarize yourself with your place of work and residence. We need to learn how to use fire extinguishers. Dapat lahat marunong gumamit ng fire extinguishers, first aid kits, alarms, and emergency exits. We also, if you want, you can practice yung building watching exercise. Before doing a drill, we suggest that you should have building watching exercise so that you will know ano yung mga good practices and safe zones in your area, in your building. And then you correct yung mga unsafe practices and hazardous zones. And then there's a need for the improvement. Prepare an evacuation and response plans and conduct drills. I hope nung nag-drill kayo kahapon, the practice of drill is para ma-memorize natin kung saan yung evacuation area, kung saan yung tamang lalabasan natin. And another purpose is sana every time na nag-drill tayo, inoorasan natin siya. We time our drill so that the next drill, dapat mas mabilis na tayo. Our objective is dapat mapabilis natin yung ating evacuation. Just like, 'di ba? May mga rules tayo sa mga mass gathering na facilities, yung exit yung entrance could be in one entrance but the exit points dapat sabog siya or marami para mas madaling makalabas yung mga tao. So how do we respond to a strong ground shaking? We should inspect our houses and buildings. Ngayon pa lang, let's check if our house is safe or not. You ask yourself, how safe are your houses? How safe are the government and private buildings? How safe are the churches, the mosques, and the malls? This is a very good experiment. Sisimplihan ko na lang, yung nasa kanan na bahay, they follow the building code. We use 6 inches hollow blocks, 10 millimeters of steel bar. Yung nasa kaliwa, hindi siya sumusunod sa building code. Tinipid yung bahay. Very simple house. These two houses will experience intensity 8 earthquake. Nasa kanan, sumusunod sa building code. Nasa kaliwa, tinipid. Manipis yung bakal, manipis yung hollow blocks. And this is the result. We conducted this in Japan. Nasa kanan, nagpa-follow ng building code. Nasa kaliwa, hindi. Intensity 8, makikita nyo yung hollow blocks na manipis, bakal na manipis, at intensity 8 nasisira na siya. So the lessons learned here is that if you follow the right design, the right standard materials, and the right construction practice, our building can survive an intensity 8 earthquake. Ang tamang hollow blocks ay 6 inches. Ang bakal ay dapat at least 10 millimeters. Every 3 meters, dapat meron tayong poste. That's the minimum standard. So, kung nakatayo na yung mga bahay natin, if you want to check if your house is safe or not, if your house is made up of concrete hollow blocks, mga CHB with 1 or 2 story, you can visit our website and download this How Safe is My House. This is a quick self-check tool that you can use. Just answer the 12 questions and at the end, we will tell you if your house is safe or not. You have to identify the safe and danger zone. So tuturuan ko na kayo, nasaan ba yung safe zone sa isang bahay, sa isang building? Unang-unang safe zone is the sturdy table, matitibay na lamesa. Kung merong poste or biga or yung beam, yung inside corner of rooms na may poste at biga, that's a safe zone. Yung mga hamba ng pinto or yung pinaka-frame ng pinto na kahoy, yung mga load-bearing doorway or wall, these are safe zones. Yung labas ng elevator is a safe zone. Labas, not the inside, outside the elevator. Any open or clear area is a safe zone. Danger zones includes windows and glass, bookshelves, cabinets and furnitures that may topple, hanging objects, inside elevators kasi pwedeng bumigay yung kable ng elevator, power lines, poles, trees, narrow alleys between tall buildings. These are danger zones. Do not attempt to cross bridges and flyovers after an earthquake kasi baka pagsampan nyo, bumigay yung bridge and flyover. During the earthquake, yung pinakamalapit sa pinto, ito hindi ito tinuturo. Palaging tinuturo is the drop, cover, and hold. But the person closest to the door should open it if possible. Why? Kasi pag hindi natin binuksan yung pinto, sarado siya, pwedeng ang tendency ng pinto mag-warp siya, bumalingo siya, matatrap na tayo sa loob ng room. So there should be somebody that will open the door. You do the drop, cover, and hold. Duck under a sturdy table. Hold on to it. If there's no sturdy table, you go to the safe spot that we have identified and protect your head and neck with your arms. The question right now is, nagkakaroon tayo ng drills and that is a very good practice. We encourage you to do this evacuation drill. But kung totoong lindol, kunwari, mangyayari na yung lindol, nangyari na yung lindol, when is the time to evacuate? Yung bang nangyaring lindol ng July 27, kung yan ay may pasok at hindi holiday sa New Era, yun ba kailangan na nating mag-evacuate? So when is the time to evacuate? So please watch this video.
Everyone has the responsibility to know and understand the earthquake evacuation plan and procedure in our workplace, school, at home, and other places where we usually go. But when is the time to evacuate? Earthquakes can happen anytime and anywhere without warning. During a strong earthquake, duck, cover, and hold. Remain in this position until the shaking stops. Be alert and do not panic. When is the time to evacuate? Immediately after a very strong earthquake, wherein you may lose balance and heavy objects and furniture move or shift. Scenario 1. Inside a structure. When you are inside a structurally sound building or home, stay there. Do the duck, cover, and hold. Once the shaking stops, take the fastest and safest way out. Get out in a calm and orderly manner. Do not rush to the exit. Use the stairs, not the elevator. Scenario 2. Outside the building. Move to an open space. Stay away from trees, power lines, posts, buildings, and walls. Move away from steep slopes. Scenario 3. Near the shore. If you felt a strong earthquake near the shore, immediately move to higher ground. Tsunami might arrive within minutes. After a strong earthquake, be prepared for aftershocks. Aftershocks can be strong enough to damage weakened structures. Reminder to stay at the evacuation area until the building has been checked and there is an order that we can return. We can prepare ourselves, our families, and our communities by practicing earthquake response and participating in regular earthquake drills. Together, we can lessen the disaster's impact. Be informed, be prepared.
So, our question is, when is the time to evacuate? Hindi po lahat ng mararamdaman nating lindol ay kailangan natin mag-evacuate. We need to have certain parameters, like for example, kung ang building natin ay structurally sound, FIVOX is suggesting that we will evacuate kapag ang earthquake ay intensity 6 pataas. Pag sinabi nating intensity 6, yan po yung may gumagalaw ng gamit sa loob ng bahay. Hindi kasi, problema kasi pag may isa or dalawa lang nakaramdam, baka mas malaki yung tendency na magkaroon tayo ng aksidente. So we need to minimize yung number ng evacuation natin para mas safe tayo. So if the building is structurally sound, our suggestion is you need to evacuate kapag intensity 6 pataas. You can lower it to 5, but sana po wag naman intensity 4. Masyadong mababa na siya. Okay, so if you are in a coastal area, kailangan din nating tingnan yung possibility ng tsunami. So these are the natural signs of an approaching tsunami. Tsunami may arrive minutes lang po yan. So the first natural sign is a felt earthquake. Mararamdaman niyo yung malakas na lindol pag nasa coastal area kayo or baybaying dagat. Then there will be unusual sea level change. There could be sudden seawater drop or rise. And the third sign is a rumbling sound. Makakarinig kayo ng tunog sa dagat. So if you are along or near a coastal area and observe any of the natural signs, kailangan nating mag-move to a higher ground or away from the shore right after a strong shaking. So to end my presentation, this is our key message. The Philippines is prone to extreme natural events such as volcanic eruptions, strong earthquakes, and tsunamis. Earthquakes and tsunamis are sudden onset events that can cause widespread impacts. Appropriate preparedness, mitigation, and response activities must be based on appropriate hazard and impact scenarios. We know ano yung pwedeng mangyari sa atin. You just visit the hazard hunter. We can mitigate that. Di ba? Nakita nyo naman, kahit na intensity 8 pa yung earthquake, pwedeng hindi tayo maapektuhan, pwedeng hindi bumagsak yung mga buildings natin if we prepare right now. Information and tools are available for communities to be safer. Let us collectively make our communities safer and resilient to disasters. Maraming salamat po, and if you need further information, we encourage you to visit our website, fivox.tost.gov.ph. If you want to get information immediately, we encourage you also to follow us sa aming official Facebook and Twitter accounts. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you so much po, Mr. Jeffrey S. Perez, for relaying valuable knowledge to us about searching for the big one. We will sincerely keep in mind the information you have shared with us po, especially for the safety of everyone. Now let's move forward po to our open forum. Ayan po, Mr. Perez, we have received some questions po from our dear viewers. Sir, why do you think we could still not predict the occurrence of an earthquake, wherein you have mentioned earlier po that we already have sensitive equipments in PhilVox? From
Yeah.
Lorena A. Espina po.
Okay. Thank you for the question. And the answer is the science behind earthquakes is still a very young science. Ano siya, imagine we are looking at the faults na nasa ilalim ng lupa, and we cannot go inside this faults. It's a very difficult job kasi the earthquakes may happen hundreds of kilometers, and we all know kapag habang nasa ilalim tayo, mas mainit, hindi siya wala pa ring way to go to that place. Ang mahirap dito, hindi natin nakikita what is happening inside the earth. We still don't have the technology na magkaroon tayo ng X-ray para makita natin sila. But in the future, sana meron. For our part, for example, for my expertise, what I'm doing is minamapa ko yung fault. For example, the West Valley Fault. I know the exact location of the fault. Then what I do, I excavate the fault. Nakikita ko yung fault sa ilalim ng lupa. And then using paleoseismic studies, I can determine the recurrence interval kung kailan nauulit. But Still, this is a long-term forecasting. Hindi siya yung the same case ng bagyo na nape-predict ng pag-asa kasi nakikita nila from the satellite. Sa yung mga seismologists natin, geologists, we cannot see what is happening inside the earth. So siguro in the future kung merong device or merong instrument that can have visualization that is happening inside the earth, then we can determine kung kailan magkakaroon ng ganito. Sana in the future. Thank you.
Thank you po. And another question po from Dr. Joey Alvarado from College of Nursing po. How can you assure that an individual or family is truly prepared for an imminent danger of earthquake, aside from, of course, participating in EQ drills?
Mahirap sabihin that we are prepared. Even the government, we cannot say that the government has already prepared us for this. What we can say is in the first few hours or probably the next 1 or 2 days, lahat tayo dito magkakanya-kanya. That's the reality. If there will be an earthquake in Metro Manila, si President BBM, Mayor Choi, they will also be affected. Mas malala kay BBM kasi nandun siya sa Pasig River, malambot yung lugar doon. Compared here in Quezon City, we have adobe. So, the key here is we need to prepare individually within our family, within our community. Dapat ang ating kit, ang ating emergency bag will last for the next 2 to 3 days. That's the scenario. There could be no immediate help from us. May isang point po na kausap ko yung ibang SCAN members and I told them the preparedness now is not only preparing within our local, within our district, we need to have a coordination with other districts. Kasi ang setup natin, kung magkaroon ng disaster sa Metro Manila, lahat tayo maapektuhan, dapat ang tutulong sa atin ay manggagaling outside Metro Manila, outside Cavite, outside Laguna, kasi lahat to apektado. Most probably, ang makakatulong sa atin sa Metro Manila, sa Quezon City, ay yung mga kapatid nating nasa may, sabihin nating Pangasinan, Tarlac, Ilocos, Baguio, kasi sila yung hindi naapektuhan. Pero tayo dito, kung tayo yung naapektuhan dito, may hirapan tayo. Pwedeng nasira yung kalsada, hindi sila makakapunta agad. So ito yung mga kailangan nating pag-aralan. Important na dapat sa nursing, this is a project that I want na sana lahat ng pamilya merong marunong mag-first aid. Di ba? Parang every family dapat marunong mag-CPR, marunong mag-first aid para in terms of kung may mangyari man, hindi na tayo lalabas ng bahay, kundi within our family, alam nating gamutin, alam nating tulungan bawat sarili natin. So, pwede natin siyang palawakin. Kunwari sa isang community, sa isang pamayanan, dapat at least, kung hindi man natin kaya yung isa bawat bahay, at least man lang 2 to 3 or hanggang 5 siguro, merong marunong mag-emergency kit, mag-first aid, mag-CPR para hindi mas lalong lumala yung ating situation. So, thank you.
Thank you po. Mayroon pong question from our Zoom chat from Mr. Mark Hill Edades. Sir, yung atin pong bagong school sa NEU University College of Agriculture, Rizal Branch, ay malayo po sa fault line. Thanks in advance po.
I think sa aking memory, hindi ko pa po napupuntahan yan. So, ibig sabihin, wala pong fault yan. Kasi kung napuntahan ko yan, baka po may fault yan. So, tingin ko po, medyo malayo. Malayo po yan. Yung pinto yan na yan. Yan. Ang fault po ay nandun pa sa may bandang Antipolo ata po. Yun. Lang po, i-check nyo sa Hazard Hunter. You can search yung school natin, then search nyo lang, then sasabihin niya kung gaano kalayo. Pero for sure, wala po dyan.
Thank you po, sir. Another question po from Sir Ronnie Kainglet. Are there studies conducted po as to the level of awareness of households or establishments in which their location is within the active faults?
Okay, since we have mapped the fault here in Metro Manila, all of the hazard maps or all of the active faults maps were already transferred to the local government unit. And yung LGU natin, together with FIFOS, what we have done is we marked the fault. We marked the fault on the ground. So nagkakaroon kami ng walk the fault. We mark the fault kung saan yung kung saan yung dinadaanan yung trace ng fault just to give awareness sa mga tao. So I think in terms of awareness ng mga tao sa Metro Manila na may fault, I think it is already high. We have done a research in Makati na tinitingnan namin yung awareness ng mga tao about the fault, and they know the fault, but the problem is ayaw nilang umalis. That's a fact kasi ang sinasabi ng mga tao based sa research parang dugot pawis ko yung pinuhunan ko dito. Why do I need to move out of my house kasi akin to, yun yung sinasabi nila. But the role of the government, the role of the local government unit is to inform yung mga bahay na to that they are on a danger zone. Wala pa tayong batas na nagsasabing kailangan yung umalis. The role of the government is to inform them and sabihin na merong panganib na nandyan sa bahay nila. Yung mga houses na tinatayo ngayon, if the building will be constructed above a fault, hindi na siya binibigyan ng building permit. That's for sure. Pero yung mga existing na bahay, meron pa ang condominium unit, buy one take one siya ngayon. Wala tayong magagawa doon. Ang magagawa lang natin is to inform them. Yan. Ingat kayo doon sa buy one take one na condo. Thank you.
Thank you po, sir. And another question po, good morning po. This is from J. Mart Ong. What are the latest advancement po regarding earthquake prediction methods or technology? Salamat po.
Okay, one of the methods we are using here in the Philippines is yung GPS, the Global Positioning System. Alam niyo yung GPS ng cellphones, di ba? Diba? Pag tinatrack niyo yung mga boyfriend niyo, di ba? Yan, yung GPS na yan, meron tayong mga sensitive na GPS. So if we put that near the fault, so meron kami mga station, mini-measure siya kasi pag merong movement, yung GPS point or yung location, magmo-move din. So using GPS, we can determine which of these faults ang hindi gumagalaw. It means that this fault is lock. Pag lock siya, ibig sabihin nag-iipon siya ng energy, and in the future, baka pwede siyang gumalaw. But this is still part of research na binabantayan natin or tinitingnan natin. Nakikita namin yung result after the earthquake. We can still not predict kung kailan siya mangyayari kasi hindi pa absolute or hindi pa exact yung science na to. There's also a group, sabihin ko na rin, there's also a group na ang tinitignan ay animal behaviors. Yung mga sensitive, yung mga animals sa hearing, sa smell. Ang hypothesis is that these animals may detect small movement of the ground. Pero ayun, in China ginagamit siya pero hindi pa siya scientifically proven. Still on the research part. And I think it will take more years bago maging exact science na to or maging science fact na siya. Thank you.
Ayan po. Thank you so much po. I guess that concludes our open forum po. Again, Mr. Perez, thank you po for giving us your time to entertain and answer our viewers' inquiries po, which truly have enlightened us more about this topic.
Thank you po.
To everyone po, thank you for joining us today. To stay updated on our webinar series, we are encouraging you to please subscribe to our YouTube page of NEU Hudyat, which is the official student publication of New Era University. And we hope to see you again in the following days of this significant event. This is Camille Anunciacion, your host for today. Have a great day ahead and stay safe, everyone.